So I'm working through the questions in the workbook for paper 2 on programming. So welcome back to another session going through one of these questions. This one's on readability. So you've got a program that calculates the radius of a circle, and it asks you to use the layout to improve the readability, to replace variable names with more meaningful identifiers, to at least add 4 spaces of white space, 4 comments, and to test the code to make sure it's working. So you've got a definition here, you've got another definition here, you've got another definition, you've then got a main program. Now, rather interestingly, as you do this, I would sit there and go, the program code that you've got here is very kind of muddled up, isn't it? So first of all, I would sit there and think, I want to begin with any imports. And we haven't got any imports, I can't see, but we'll have a look. And then we want to have any global variables, and we might have some of those. And then we want to have our definitions, and then we want to have our main program. So that for me would be a kind of a start on the readability question. So then as I go down, I get things like this 0 equals 0. So I'm just going to take that picture of my face off. So that would be a variable. So I'm going to highlight that one and just cut it and put it up in the variables. And I'm going to take that one there with r equals 0.0, and I'm going to put it, and I'm going to put that up in the variables, because they were outside the programs in the first place. And then I'm going to take this one, this def, and I'm going to put it into the defs. And I'm going to take this def on show menu, and I'm going to put that one also into the defs. And then I go down again, I've got a while loop that's doing a bit of a program. So I also notice it's got import math appearing there. Well, first of all, notice the math.py. Now I would sit there and think, let's not be doing that inside the subprogram. Let's be putting that up with the imports at the top like we always do. So I'm going to put import math right at the top. Now, equally, I'm now looking at these definitions, and there are definitions like this one with area and with exit. And I think maybe that should go at the top as well. And we should have those as kind of variables at the very, very top of the whole program. So that's me putting my variables together at the top. I'm not sure what 0 and r are at the moment, but we'll see in a minute. So we've then got these two kind of options here. Now I could split those up and say that these are constant and these are other ones, or 0 and r are different ones. I could just leave them as they are. But I've got, first of all, a definition show menu that puts 35 dashes on the screen and then offers them 1 area, 2 circumference, 3 exit. That seems to me a reasonable little subprogram. And then we've got definition get user option, and we've got something that says the choice is false, and then the user choice is set to 0, and then while the user choice is valid, shows the menu. Show menu should probably then appear before it because it's referred inside this one. So let's put show menu before it because it appears inside it. User choice is an input. Number of options is 1 to 3. User choice is 1, 2, 3. Valid choice, and it comes through and it returns the user choice. That all seems fine. You could add a couple of comments to that. I might add a couple of comments to that in a minute, but that seems reasonable. Now, while O is not 1 to 3. So here I would sit there and think, what is O? Now, O seems to me options. And options is get choice and while options is 1, and while options is 2, and while options are 1, 2, or 3, so that's those ones. So this global variable at the top, I'm going to make to be called options. So that just sets options up at the top. Now, because it's a circle, I suspect the R, enter the R of a circle, is obviously going to be the radius. Enter the radius of a circle. Pi times radius times thing. Enter the radius of the circle. And change the float to a radius. So at that point, I'm sat there thinking, I'd almost missed that radius because it was hiding behind the thing of loom as it was recording. So I've got that radius in there as well, and I've now changed that one to radius. Now, technically speaking, you'd probably put variables like those two underneath the constants, because in some programs they put the constants as a separate thing, but I don't think it really matters. So we've put area and circumference as constants at the top. Then we've got some variables in medium case. Then we've got show menu. Then we've got user choice. Then we've got options is do this. If it's 1, then ask them for the radius. If it's 2, then do the different calculation to work out the circumference. Otherwise, you pick 3, and it does exit for goodbye. So at that stage, it feels a whole lot more readable as a bit of program code. Now, the next thing I want to do is just go back to the question and go, what have we done? Have we used layout to aid readability? Yes. Have we replaced 2 variable names to make them more readable? Well, that was convenient. Options and radius. Yes. Have we added 4 lots of white space? Plenty of white space added. Have we added 4 comments? No. Have we tested it? No. So I want to now put in some comments here that are going to say what this is doing. So this is, I would say, something like sets the original choice to an invalid 0, and the user will pick 1, 2, 3. Yeah, and then hashtag user will input this on choice 1 or 2, whether they're doing the radius, whether they're doing the area, or whether they're doing the circumference, based on these choices here. Then it kind of goes down. You could put on there on the while loop, makes the user pick a choice between 1 and 3. And then, you could even put in here, calculates the area, calculates the circumference, fine, and then you'd run it. And when you run it, it's giving you these 2 options, so you're needing to just have a look and think, well, let's pick one of these. So what we want to do is we want to do 1, 10.4, and end up with 3999. So I go, let's run it, let's do 1, let's do 10.4, and we end up with 3999. So that's all good. So then I go back and think, right, let's test the next one. Let's do 2, 12.3, and I should end up with 77 point whatever. Yeah, so 2, 12.3. So let's try that one. Let's go 2, 12.3, and I end up with 77 point whatever. Right, fine. So that's all working. And then the final one, 3, it should say goodbye. So then I'm going to go up 3, and it says goodbye. And at that point, I sit there and think, I've done that.